As of recording this, our homebrew races has this views.
At least 1,100 views.
Yeah, that's how many that was on there the last time we checked. And you guys really like the D&D stuff. So oh my god, like this is the most viewed video we have right now, and oh my god, thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much for watching and enjoying our videos. And to celebrate, we have brought to you how to get into D&D.
How to get into it, how to fall into that hole.
It's a very big hole. The Trask made it.
And now I know, I know unfortunately what that is, and you will too after watching this video.
You know what the D&D version is. You don't know what the French version is.
The French version? Le Touresque.
Ah, yes. While you're watching this, I'm going to explain the French story of the Tarasque.
So you want to get into D&D? Well, we can help bring those basic steps to you, and then you can actually play the game.
Step 1. What is D&D? According to Wikipedia, Dungeons & Dragons, commonly abbreviated as D&D or DND, is a fantasy tabletop role-playing game, RPG, originally designed by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson. It was first published in 1974 by Tactical Studios Rules Incorporated. It has been published by Wizards of the Coast, now a subsidiary of Hasbro, since 1997. The game was derived from miniature war games, with a variation of the 1971 game Chainmail, serving as the initial rule system. D&D's publication is commonly recognized as the beginning of modern role-playing games and the role-playing game industry.
For those still awake.
In normal terms, D&D is a storytelling game made and played by players. You play in one of two roles: the Dungeon Master, or DM, who makes the world and writes the story, or the player, who plays within the world.
Also known as Duke, the person who gets us actually doing things, and me, Mayhem, messing everything up.
To play, you need the following tools.
Choose your weapons.
The Player's Handbook. There are many official books that you can find anywhere, but the most important book is the Player's Handbook, that explains the basic rules of the game and some of the options for players. If you don't have the money to afford this book, there are plenty of options for playing, such as apps like 5e on the Google Play Store, or websites like Roll20.
And just knowing somebody who already has one.
Pens and paper. These are important for keeping track of the world and characters. For DMs, they have to keep track of their entire world and important characters. For players, they have to keep track of their character, from their inventory to their relationships to non-player characters.
You might think that you could remember it all, but you won't. Dice! Not one! God damn it! Dice are the most important tool in every game. Dice determine every outcome of literally every decision you ever make in the entire game.
There are 7 total dice used in D&D. The D4, D6, D8, and D12 commonly are used for determining damage, such as a dagger being a D4, a hand axe being a D6, a longsword being a D8, and a great axe being a D12. We can talk more about battles in D&D in a future video.
Oh.
The D10 is known as the percentile. This is a rarely used die, mostly being used by DMs for very specific roles. Like how I'll kill you.
Like how much exactly you're dead.
The 20-sided dice is the decision-making die.
When
a player wants to punch a goblin with a table, they roll the D20. When the player wants to seduce a dragon, they roll the D20.
Not one!
When the player wants to know more about the cultist in the bar, they roll the D20. Most rolls depend on the DM, but 2 specific rolls can make or break a game.
Hey, Duke, I just rolled a nat 20. That means that I don't have to be in this video anymore.
Speaking of which, the natural 20. The natural 20 is the highest possible roll. This commonly results in an immediate success with an additional benefit. Maybe you were trying to shoot a bandit. Nat 20. Not only do you shoot him, but he falls into a pile of pillows, so none of his buddies hear him die.
Where'd those pillows come from? No, don't worry about it.
Natural 1. The opposite of this roll is the dreaded natural 1. An immediate failure that can result in something terrible happening. Let's use the bandit example. You shoot. Nat 1. It misses and hits a bell. The group turns their attention to you, and combat begins.
Oh no.
Now that you have your supplies, time to know your role.
Know your role!
What does a DM do, and what does a player do?
The DM makes the story, and the players don't do the story.
True. The DM is given the important task of being the storyteller who guides player through their adventure. Maybe the DM uses modules, adventures made by Wizards of the Coast with a pre-made world and story. Examples include The Hunt for Thessal Hydra inspired by Stranger Things, The Lost Dungeon of Wickedness inspired by Rick and Morty, and The Curse of Strahd, a grimdark high difficult setting.
You know, you could be media-focused, entertainment-focused, your own thing, it doesn't matter.
The DM could also use the books to craft a story in the official settings of the books, places like Waterdeep or Neverwinter. It doesn't really matter what kind of world you make, as long as everyone's having fun.
You know, just anything to get as many players into your session as possible.
The other option is going fully original with the story of your game and creating a homebrew world. This can be as original as you want it to be, as long as you're having fun. Maybe your world is The Myth of Zoldai, about acquiring the Quad Force and battling the Minotaur Wizard King Gunan. Just have fun.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if all these rules aren't regulation or anything like that. It's just fine. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about the police knocking at the door. It's fine. It's not illegal.
Which I do need to add, please do understand, the creator of the game himself, Gary Gygax, has mentioned, if you just want to play with your own rules, that's fine. These are guidelines. Finally, we have the role of the player. Your job is to make a character that is your focal point in the story. There are several factors that should go into this character. The backstory. Where did this character come from, and why do they want to be a hero?
He was a rich kid that, ran away from home and wanted to seek out adventure.
The race and class. The race and class determine the appearance and abilities of your characters. The options are endless. Official D&D has 13 classes, more than 100 subclasses, and more than 40 races.
He's gonna be a tiefling paladin because he might be an abomination against God, but he sure does believe in God.
The race determines starting abilities, appearance, some backstory features, and possibly basic personality traits. An elf character is a near immortal being known for grace and beauty, but completely disconnected from the rest of the world. A dwarven character is a noble hard worker with a rough exterior.
And the tiefling, he's gonna be a strong believer, and whenever somebody tries to say hey, are you being a hypocrite or something like that, he instantly decapitates them.
Yes, edgelord.
An edgelord for God!
The class of a character is kinda like their profession. There are 13 official classes that I can delve into later on, but for now, there is Barbarian.
You know, the guy.
Bard.
The singing song guy.
Cleric.
The believe in God but also magic guy.
Druid.
The believe in nature and magic guy.
Fighter.
The punch without the screaming.
Monk.
The think and then the punch.
Paladin.
The I have God and metal on my side.
Ranger.
I'm gonna shoot you and that's it.
Rogue.
I'm gonna stab you and you're never gonna know it.
Sorcerer.
I'm gonna cast magic because I'm good at it.
Warlock.
I'm gonna cast magic because somebody gave me it.
Wizard.
I'm gonna cast magic because I read it in a book.
And the recently introduced Artificer.
I'm gonna make some cool stuff like a gun.
I have a gun.
I have a gun.
Subclasses add a touch to your normal class. Basically, it's like a branch on a skill tree. You might have a group of clerics, but each one prays to a different god. You might have a group of barbarians, but each one gets a different boost when angry.
You know, one bard could be playing the drums, and he'll make it sure that you get hit with every sound wave. There's a guy that can play the lute that plays the brown notes, you don't know that kind of stuff. You can the guy play a flute so he can summon a bunch of animals, you know.
The final note is for those who aren't sure if they should play or not. Do you like fantasy like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, and Harry Potter?
I sure do!
Maybe video games like Legend of Zelda, The Witcher, or World of Warcraft?
I sure do.
Many of the games, shows, and movies actually inspired or were inspired by D&D. Beyond that, the biggest appeal is being in a room with your friends and just imagining a full adventure. You don't need the little figures or the immense maps to have a fun time with your friends. A good D&D game can be as simple as playing your own version of your favorite show. Pretend to be Frodo and Aragorn, and tell your own version of Lord of the Rings.
Or you're the next Avatar.
Play the Sword in the Stone as Merlin and Arthur. Make your own story. It's all up to you. Have fun, and thank you for over 1,000 views. More D&D is coming.
Oh my god, yes it is.